Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Online dating. I met this girl online. Online dating. I met this girl online. Clicked and fell into this date.
Hey, welcome back. This is Larry Yates. Hey, we're back at the first of the year, 2017. Hey, thank you guys for holding us in there, keeping us in here. This has been a couple of good years with you guys. You know, I really appreciate that. And I wish everybody is having this wonderful new year, bringing it in with all the best wishes and hopes and dreams and all the possibilities. Just think about the possibilities. Forget about the negativity for a few seconds, because you're going to be on a nice little journey with me today. Right here, I have a wonderful guest in the house today. I can't wait to bring her on. She's very enlightened young lady. In fact, I think she's going to be able to teach me a thing or two here, because she don't know. I was watching her and listening to her really, really in depth there, and she didn't know that I was peeping in on her mind by listening to her conversation earlier. But anyway, I just got back in the country, and as some of you guys know that I'm going to be posting this stuff on Facebook. And I've had a few people ask me, man, post some of your pictures on Facebook, Instagram, and all of that kind of stuff. And okay, I'm going to do that. But I was in Vienna, Austria, went through Istanbul, and into Paris, and had an interesting winter. In fact, this was the first time I've spent Christmas season in small villages in Europe. And I tell you, I'm not one that celebrate Christmas, and a lot of you know that, but I support everybody else. And whatever reason your families and loved ones can get together and break bread together and speak of the good things and possibilities of the future. Anytime you can get together and do that, hey, go for it. But it was absolutely wonderful. And I'll talk a little bit more about the village that I was staying in. And, my old boy might be moving to Austria. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kidding. I am kidding. Because I know some of you that heard me say that is going to, I didn't know you was thinking about leaving the country. I got Donald Trump. Who's not thinking about leaving the country? Donald Trump is even thinking about leaving the country. In fact, oh my God, we have some exciting times. You got the inauguration coming up. Let me give a love shout out to. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of sinus here. A radio personality, Jimmy Daltrey, in Dalton, Alabama. I talked to him today, and he told me that a tornado hit Alabama and lost some people down there, and my heart and prayers go out to that. And I don't want to talk too much in the open monologue this time, because I'm just so glad to be back here, and I'm actually headed to the East Coast tomorrow, and but so much is going on, and I didn't get a lot of information on these young people in Chicago. I think they posted on Facebook or something that they were torturing this young man. I know the president was going to speak out about it in a few minutes. But what a hell of a way to start out a new year, and to have some young people to be so disheartened. And I know we have to look at what is going on with our youth, that they could torture a young man. And the reason I bring that up, and then how we have to try and heal ourselves, get ready for this new president and his crew. Everything about this guy looks very dangerous to me, but hey, what do I know? I've come to one thing. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I thought by the time I get to be 13, I would know everything. Got it covered. But I got to be 13. I said, no, I need to be sweet 16. Then I know. Got there, but then no, I needed to be 18 to 21. I know I was going to know everything by then. Got into my 30s and 40s. I knew by the time I got to be 50, I would know everything. And I won't finish up the rest of these years on this, but I found out, honestly, truly, Uncle Larry is going to tell you guys something. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know nothing. I have ideas and thoughts on things, but I just don't know. But what we have today is this lovely young lady that's going to come in here, and maybe she can shine some lights and give us some thoughts and ideas. And now you guys realize that I just tear up people's names. Look, I have fun, and some butchers go to the butcher shop and cut up meat. I cut up people's names, not fruits names. But anyway, work with me here. Oh, yeah, shout out to Grenada. What's up, Grenada? I be through there in a little bit, so my Grenada family, yeah. Be checking in with WGNL. You're going to hear the old boy music down there as well. Anyway, I have just a lovely, spirited young lady here with me today, and I'm going to attempt the name. So I'm going to say is Reverend Queen Imani Mutima. Did I do it?
Yes, you did. Thank you so much.
So right behind me now. I'm going to do the introduction short, but she's a spiritual healer, spiritual coach, and I like the headline here. And I want to thank Carolyn for putting this together for us. And because we wanted to start the year off with some healing, with some love, with some, hey, let's look forward to the possibilities, the positive possibilities, and healing the heart of humanity. And that is something I read off of the newsletter that we sent out. And thank you so much for joining us, Imani.
Thank you for having me.
And tell us a little bit about that healing. And first of all, would you like to comment on anything that I just said?
What I would like to comment on is that it is time at this beginning of the new year to really start with positivity.
Tell us a little bit about that thought process. When you say that, what's on your mind when you say that?
Well, what I'm thinking about is the request that I had from the executive producer, Queen Reverend Carolyn Wilkins, that this is a time as we're beginning a new year that we want to begin to examine what we want to let go of from last year and what we want to focus in on. And that it's really important at the beginning of the year to actually take the time to look at where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go.
Well, when you meditate on these, if I'm using the right terminology here, when you meditate on the letting go, what does that mean?
Letting go actually means beginning to think about what you're thinking about and seeing how those thoughts are serving you. So, in all different schools of thoughts, there's a theory that it's done into you as you believe, that thoughts are things, and that we manifest through our thoughts and our feeling level. And so when we look at our world and we see that there's something that is not really manifesting the way that we want it, there's a little bit more sadness or pain or finances are not right, it means that there's a way that our thinking is not supporting us. And, a lot of people don't stop to think about what they're thinking about.
Oh, I like that. Talk to me about that.
So stopping to think about what you're thinking about is so important because we begin to realize that we're not even having any original thoughts. That those of us who watch TV all the time and even listen to the radio all the time and read books all the time, we are filling our minds with thoughts that are not our own. And oftentimes we can pick up a thought like, oh my God, everything's going to be worse because now Trump's in. And, if you're feeling a low vibration of anxiety and a lot of fear right now, it's really time to take a deep breath, stop, and listen to what your thoughts are saying to you. Because the only thing we have control over is our own thinking, but we don't know that.
I'm a big fan of, and most of the people that know me personally know I'm a big fan of understanding the inner dialogue. And I truly believe that the inner dialogue is so important for us to focus in on, because often with these different voices in your head, I know someone did a study that said it's over 600 different voices in your head or something along those lines. But when do you know what voice to listen to in your head?
Well, when you actually take the time to sit and listen, and then you can say, "Oh, I don't agree with that thought. And where's that thought coming from?" It takes, you have to sit and listen, and then the one that resonates, the one that brings you joy, the one that takes you forward instead of shuts you down, tells you to shut up, you're too small, you're too this, you're too that. That's the one you listen to.
I like that. But if I'm hearing you correctly, there's that positive reinforcement voice, and there's that inner critic.
Yes.
And that inner critic oftentimes is the one that holds us back if it's not properly balanced. Am I hearing you correctly there?
Right. So the mind actually is a defense mechanism, and it's really trying to protect you. But it actually lives in the past, which when I say that, I mean that it has all of these past experiences that are set in your consciousness, and it says, "Oh, don't do that. Remember when that happened? You don't want that to happen again. Oh, you need to protect yourself because men are this or women are that, or oh, you're never going to be anything because your first grade teacher, your mom, your dad, whatever, told you blah, blah, blah." And in fact, if you stop and listen and you hear that thought, you can begin to erase that thought and replace that thought with something that is more in line with what it is that you want.
Give me your thoughts on this, because I'm a firm believer that I won't use the phrase most. And notice I use the language I believe, because I honestly don't know. But I believe that religion is crippling so many of us now. I just, for some reason or the other, regardless of where I go, I see people that is being boxed in, whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism or Buddhism. And it just seems to me like the Christianity has boxed us in and kind of made puppets out of people. Now, I'm not, before anybody send me any messages and stuff like that, I'm not saying if you believe in Jesus that you shouldn't believe in Jesus. I'm not saying if you believe in Muhammad that you shouldn't believe in Muhammad. I'm not questioning anyone's belief. I am just saying I have been fortunate enough to travel around the world, and I've done it, several times. I'm a very fortunate man. And I just see religion as just boxing and people in. And how do you see religion playing itself out in this day and age?
Well, I think that people have a right to believe whatever they like to believe. And I also think that each person is drawn to a certain school of religion because of their own personal growth. And I've also seen that when people box themselves in and it's restrictive to their personality, like, for instance, if you like to dance and then you get in a religion that says don't dance.
Yes.
Then it begins to corrode some of your essence. And so what I think is that we really need something to believe in. And I say there's a power greater than us, believe in that and call it whatever you want. Because when you look at the core denominations of all religions, everybody believes that there's a power greater than us. Then we call it by different names.
And I appreciate that, because one of the reasons I make the statement that I did, you take this Trump situation, and I'm telling you, I know it's going to happen among people that I know, is that now that they went out and voted or not, they're really hurt and afraid of Trump, but instead of being proactive, they're going to sit back and say, well, it's in the Lord's hand. They're going to say, well, he wouldn't be there if Jesus, Yahshua, Messiah, or Muhammad didn't intend for him to be there. He's in God's hand. And that's what I mean boxed in, because who told you that he's there because God put him there because he went against your vote? The man robbed you. He lied. And then you to tell me that God wanted a liar in there. And I just think the danger of that is that we get complacent and we won't continue to think and move forward and be proactive. That's the thing I'm talking about.
Well, complacency really is a form of stagnation. And there is a way in which the belief in the higher power, and what I would say is consciousness is a great leveler. So right before the election, the people that are in my group in my tribes around, a lot of people said they knew that he was going to win because they've been stealing elections all the time. So that's another story.
That's another story. But I get it, yeah.
And that we're at the place where to choose Hillary would be a choice of an old choice. It would be like staying with the status quo, and the status quo is not working. So it was a setup for something different, and so we have it. And the thing is that if we could get to the fact that if we could start operating like real democracy, like we the people for the people of the people, then it really doesn't matter who's there. It really doesn't. Yeah. And so the point for me, it's a wake-up call for us to begin to look at what are we really doing? Because if you start with a glitch, which is that we are a democracy, you're going to end up with a glitch. And so we have a glitch, and it's our opportunity to say, oh, okay, well, this is happening right now. What are we going to do? And that is why I am so excited about being a part of a women's organization called Wisdom Women.
Wisdom Women. Is there a website to that? Or
yes, there is.
Tell us about Wisdom Women.
Well, Wisdom Women is a growing community of women who believe it's time to look in a revolutionary new direction and build our world from a different paradigm. Those are the exact words from the founder, Michelle. We are not asking whether or not it can be done. We're claiming it's ours to do. So we're gathering women in just a few weeks, not even January the 13th, 14th, and 15th at Esalen, and it's in Big Sur. And women are coming from all over so that we can actually envision the world in which we're going to be proud to leave as a legacy and want to work towards so that we can have a more equitable and more fair society.
I love that. So, guys, we are not invited. You know what I mean? Women.
Yeah, so
we need the strong women. We need the women to get together. Look, men have screwed this thing up so bad anyway. So,
and what we're doing is we are awakening to the feminine power that's within us, and we're calling for all people to do it.
Okay.
So we will be having.
You're calling for all people to
wake up to the feminine power
side of them.
Yes.
You asking me to
yes,
wake up to the feminine side.
The
of
side
me?
of you that's more nurturing.
It doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
I'm just kidding.
The side of you that's more nurturing.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, this is fun. I always try to throw a little bit of information out there. When we talk about Republican democracy, audience, a lot of us use this language and we don't really know exactly how it fits. So let me give you something to think about, audience. I'm going to take you back to the Westerns, the cowboy days. I actually heard someone else, so I'm kind of plagiarizing here. And the two gunmen gets out in the street, and one ghosts the other one into shooting, and he shoots and then kill him. The crowd said, "Oh my God, you shouldn't have shot him. You knew he was a farmer. You are a gunslinger." So the sheriff come and arrest the guy. Crowd go in the bar, they get drunk. You've seen this. Now they get out and they're unruly. Now they want to go in and tell the sheriff, let him out, we're going to hang him without a trial. Sheriff by himself stands in front of the crowd and say, you got to kill me first. He has to have a trial. Guess what that's called? Republican. Yeah, you didn't know that, didn't you? Mm-mm. Yeah, that's a Republican. But now the crowd that go in and say, wait a minute here, we watched him, we know he's guilty, he does not have to have a trial. We break in and get in there because the masses has ruled. That's a democracy. So be very careful with Donald Trump in the White House. You're talking about democracy and Republican. Know what you're talking about now. Just know what you're talking about.
So what I was talking about is the fact that we really don't have a democracy.
I totally agree with you.
Yes.
And
that people who think that we do are really disappointed because when you look at what Bernie Sanders was doing and the movement around that and how many people were excited about that, you would then think that the vote would have gone a different way. But the fact that it didn't is another example. So what I want to really talk to you about,
Please.
and to the listening audience, and so I'm so grateful that you're listening in, because we're at a pivotal point. People are losing their minds.
Go ahead.
People are living in deep anxiety, and people are suffering because they are dependent upon something that's outside of themselves that's not there. It's not there. So I'm going to leave the country now and it's not worth living, and I'm going to just allow myself to be depressed and sit on the couch and not do anything because the world is over. All of that is mind control. It's totally
go.
mind control.
Yeah.
So what we are doing as women, with Wisdom Women,
I love this.
is
Wisdom Women.
getting together and talking about what we don't want to have in our lives anymore. We did a great, beautiful grief ritual where we grieve the way that we're treating the planet. We're grieved the way that indigenous people and black people and brown people have been treated. We grieve the brokenness in our families. And when we envision a world, and then of all possibilities, and then ask ourselves, well, what can we do individually? We have to get into action. And one of the things that another body of work that I really love to do, it's called The Work That Reconnects. And you could pull that up too if you'd like. And it's a woman, Joanna Macy, and her husband, who are nuclear activists. They started this work going to places where there was nuclear catastrophes, of spills and stuff like that, helping the people to deal with that pain and that suffering. And in The Work That Reconnects, it says that we are awakening to the fact that we have built a world, a society, a life that is not sustainable.
I like that.
Not sustainable.
I heard you mention that, and tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we're awakening to that fact, and so we're now turning from unsustainability to thriving, not just sustainability, but we want to go a little bit further into having a life that is thriving. And so in order to go through that process, there's this thing that it's a part of the work that reconnects. It's called the spiral. And in the spiral, you start with gratitude. And this is important, listening audiences, because I don't care how down you are, how much money you don't have, how broken your body is and your relationships. If you can start with gratitude for breath, for the sun, for a plant that might be growing in your living room, for a friendship, start with gratitude. Your energy will shift. So it starts with gratitude. What are you grateful for? And I'm going to invite people to begin to be grateful for the life that we have, even if the body is broken, because the body will respond to that gratitude and begin to heal itself.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're basically talking about finding that balance spiritually, mentally, and physically, and in order to heal.
Yes, and the spiral says that you start with gratitude and then you tell the truth about the pain you feel in your own life.
Come on, girl.
And the pain that you have from seeing the suffering in the world. And as soon as you tell that truth, you will lose like 50 pounds of depression or sadness. And I just want to stop at this one point and tell a little personal story.
Please.
When I first came to the work that reconnects, I had just lost my second nephew to suicide.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And I was, I had no place to grieve. So I joined was invited to the work that reconnects, and there was a grief ritual. And it was the first time that I was able to say that and feel that and talk about that without me taking care of everybody in the room. Because that's like really shocking. Like not one suicide, 2 suicides. And I was able to grieve and get that pain and that sadness and that sorrow, and I got my juice back. And then I committed myself to the work that reconnects. Because as I talked about the pain I was feeling and the suffering I was having in the world and let that go through this grief ritual, I got my energy back. And then I was able to move into action. because I was able to see with new eyes and then move into action. So it actually literally saved my life.
Oh, my goodness.
Because you can imagine, when I heard that my second nephew had killed himself, my body shut down completely.
It just lives in the cells.
It lives in the cells.
Yeah.
And so I want to say that in the community, it's time for us to really begin to look at that we're all suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And we're all suffering from post-traumatic slave syndrome. Blacks because we were the slaves, and whites because they went in. They were the slave holders.
Mm-hmm.
It damaged them as much as it damaged us. That's the new truth. Okay, and we are also suffering now, especially in the black community, post-traumatic prison syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that. I get that whites was they suffer, but I wouldn't say as much as we did. But
well, you can look at it now and see that that white supremacy is a sickness. It's an illness.
It really is.
And
yes.
it is as sick as an inferiority complex.
I can't argue that.
So my work is really healing the heart of humanity, and that's part of it, is to begin to look at.
So when you this is another part of truth that you're talking about, is looking
Absolutely.
at that truth. It's quite fascinating, because one thing I most definitely agree with you is that using my own life, and I say this to those that know me and those that don't. I've had some serious tragedies in my life. But the one thing that has helped me, and if this statement, what she made, helps anybody out there that is going through some anxieties or depression or whatever, I found that the pain can act as a wave if you let it flow. If you box it in and hold it in and go back to what
It
you were
creates
saying,
disease if you box it in and hold it in.
don't tell the truth about it.
Yes.
Be truthful to yourself about the pain. And because I tell everybody, I'm one of the best surfers in the world, and I don't know how to swim in that ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But I get my surfboard, and every little anxiety or pain that come through, I ride that sucker just like it's a wave, because I know that as long as I face it, as long as I tell the truth about it, then it will pass through. And so I totally like the way you're managing this by saying there's a new truth out there.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm feeling a call to actually talk to your listeners, because I think that as a healer and a coach, my dream, my goal, every time I have an opportunity to talk, is to talk really personally to people, because they're out there suffering,
Yes.
and there's no need to suffer. That's the other wake up. There's really no need to suffer. It's actually a choice. And it feels like that's not true, because it's so heavy on us. And so some of my work around healing the heart of humanity and the healing racial wounds is deep into forgiveness. And forgiveness isn't something you do for anybody else, you do it for yourself. Because if someone did something to you and it was 10 years ago or yesterday or 20 years ago, and you're still harboring it, not able to forgive it, they say that person is taking real estate up in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit.
So that perpetrator still has power
over you completely. And so, the people say, well, how is it to forgive? And part of it is to begin to say, I forgive anyone and everyone who's ever harmed me, body, mind, or spirit, in this life or any other life, and just keep saying that until you feel a shift. And definitely you'll feel a shift.
What about that person that will respond to that and say, well, what do you mean I should just get over it?
Well, I'm not asking people just to get over anything. I'm asking you, how do you like your life right now? Is it going the way you want it? Do you have enough love? Are you having fun? Are you in your body? Is your sexual life happy? And then if you can say yes, 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 then keep doing what you're doing. But if you got a no in there and you want a yes, then you got a choice. And you wouldn't think that we have forgotten that. We have totally forgotten that.
Well, the reason this is very good. I like this because I am what psychology call a cognitive thinker. And for those that are not familiar with that term, it means that you can think it differently and change your life. And oftentimes when I have said that over the years, people have taken it as I was saying, well, okay, someone hurt you and you just get over it. But that's not what it means. It doesn't mean you just get over it. It doesn't mean that you just throw it away as if it didn't happen. For me personally, it just means that the perpetrator does not have the steering wheel of my life anymore. Mm-hmm. The perpetrator does not have his or her feet on the brakes or the accelerator. Mm-hmm. That belongs to me. And at this time, when I call cognitive thinking, my perpetrator's in the back seat. He's not in the front seat, and he's not in the driver's seat. And so cognitive thinking, psychologically, mentally, and spiritually, it just means that I decided that I'm going to drive this vehicle called Larry's life. And so a lot of people get I think I'm going to get in a little trouble with some people out here, but I think people find comfort in holding on to pain. And
yeah, I agree. I think that people find comfort in holding on to pain because they've been in pain for so long they didn't know that they can be out of pain. And whatever you hold on to, you become very friendly with it, and it's very hard to give it up unless you really, really want to change. And so that's really the truth. The other thing that I like to talk about is the 21st century tools for personal transformation. There are all kind of tools out there. And
wait a minute, slow down, young lady. I'm from Mississippi. Now you got to go back to read through that one again.
21st century tools for personal transformation.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
Talk
There
to us
are
about
all these tools out there that can help us move from one state of consciousness into another to transform whatever's in our reality. And one of them, and this is it's called tapping, and it's like a rave. And the beauty about tapping is that you actually say, even though I'm full of pain, I'm depressed, and I don't like my life, I love myself completely and I accept myself completely. And you tap on the side of your hand, and then you tap these places that actually take that thought and that energy out of your body. And it's available. Listening audience, please go to tapping.com and tap yourself out of your pain, because you can do that.
Please, go ahead.
And another tool is just taking a deep breath and paying attention to your breathing. Because when you are low energy, when you're depressed, when you are upset, you are not breathing. So to pause and take a deep breath.
Girl, you got me doing it right here.
Just take a deep breath, and
she knew I needed that.
And as you let it go, your energy will begin to shift. The tension in your body will go away. And honey, listen, audience, everybody out there, your breath is your breath. You don't have to buy it.
This is true.
You can just use it.
I got to tell you something. It's kind of like serendipitous, as one of my listeners is going to agree with me on, is that we, with someone very dear to me, we tried to tap in, I want to say about
solutions?
2 years ago.
The tapping solutions?
Yeah, the tapping solution. Really, I like it. I really like it. You got to give this stuff a try, man. I tell you got to give this stuff a try. And the breathing, believe me, that is probably, God, you can't get any better than that. But sometimes what I have found, I share one of the things that I wrote for myself. This is something that I, almost every night I do this. And a lot of people ask me, Larry, you got this weird mind. So what do you say to yourself to relax yourself? I share you a personal little poem that I wrote for myself a couple years ago. And every time I'm in stress, and every time, and it goes like this: I'm going to slow myself down. I'm going to slow myself down. after I've done the best that I can do, what will be, I'm going to slow myself down and take good care of me.
That's beautiful.
I do that, and I wrote that for myself, and I'm sharing it with those that when you get in a situation that you're a little uptight and that you can't sleep at night, it has to be with the breathing.
Right.
Like Imani said, the breathing. And once again, I'm going to slow myself down. I'm going to slow myself down. After I've done the best that I can do, what will be, I'm going to slow myself down and take good care of me. Try it, folks, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, that's very, very beautiful. And one way to slow yourself down is actually take a deep breath and tense your toes up and then release it. Your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your buttocks, your stomach, your chest. And by the time you get to your head, if you have trouble falling asleep, you'll be really ready to go to sleep.
I just, once again, we have some wonderful people to come on this show, but this is the type of show that I'm just so grateful for starting the year out with. And
great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you bring so much energy in here. Now, you was telling me a little bit about you do a Rite to Passages. Tell me, just for old Yates here, because I hear this phrase a lot, mainly from people with science of mind or metaphysics. I don't hear this in Christian world. But what does that mean?
Rites of Passage is moving from one state of consciousness to another consciously.
Okay.
So it's about taking an assessment where you are, deciding that you are leaving that, and you're going through a passage of clearing, of gathering yourself, of purging, so that you can be in a new state of consciousness. So for years, I traveled with the African American woman on tour. And it was the foremost African American women's conference, professional conferences, and I did the Women's Rites of Passage within that conference. And what I did, it was called Coming to the Awareness, and I gave the true title to women, which is Queen. So I say, in every woman there's a queen. When you speak to the queen will answer. So you women out there, hello, queens. Hello.
Hello, queens.
And when a woman knows that she's a queen, the men automatically become kings and the children prince and princesses.
Oh, wow.
Hello, kings.
I love that. Give me some applause over there. Jarvis, I'm feeling royalty right now.
And the point is to elevate ourselves to the place where we are reigning over our life situations and not being a victim or living in the slave mentality.
Well, let's going back to what we talked about earlier on is about that inner dialogue.
Yes.
And what you say to yourself. And I tell people this all the time. What you put out there, the words that you put out there, somehow the universe gives it to you. And if you say something positive about yourself, then the universe would answer it some form or fashion. It may not come from the direction that you are expecting it, but it will come if you have positive dialogue within yourself, to yourself, about yourself, and for yourself. And I'm not saying don't go to Jesus. That's not what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about, in addition to that, how you speak to yourself, how you speak about yourself. I was telling someone, one of my clients, and the client said, well, I'm so freaking stupid. I shouldn't have done that. And I asked him, I said, would you allow me to say that to you? He said, no. I said, would you allow a stranger to walk up to you and tell you you're so freaking stupid? He said, hell no. I then, well, why would you allow yourself to say it?
Yes.
That's the most powerful voice that you'll ever hear.
Yes.
So what we say to ourselves is very important in moving forward. Would you think?
Absolutely. And so it's important for us to slow down and think about what we're saying to ourselves. And if you are wanting more love in your life, and you are saying, relationships are hard, where you, as soon as you make that prayer, please bring more love, you're counteracting it. You are doing one thing and actually thinking another. So we have to come out of the confused mind and be congruent. One of the other things I want to talk about is the importance of saying this, to telling young kids that. I talk to young kids all the time. I'm doing some restorative justice consultancy in DC, where I'm at schools, where I'm helping students and the staff there to move from being punitive to being restorative. So really, restorative justice is breaking the pipeline to prison, in my mind, because we're not saying to the children anymore, what's wrong with you? We're looking at them through the life that they're living, which is a trauma-informed lens, and saying, what's happening to you? Because now we're looking at disruptive behavior and acting out as a cry for help, not that you're a juvenile delinquent and we're going to send you to juvenile hall. So the whole approach to being more restorative starts with reconnecting with self. So it's what labels have been placed on you and what labels have you accepted, wearing proudly. And what the young people sometimes says, yeah, I'm a bully. It's well, you don't want to be proud about being a bully, because you're a bully because somebody bullied you, because hurt people hurt people.
Say that again. Hurt people.
People hurt people. So when someone's coming at you and trying to hurt you, it's because they've been hurt. So to fight them and to not have compassion for them causes you to then be hurt even more. And it's a cycle that we can break it. So when you think about the people who are attacking you or trying to harm you, something's going on with them. And it's like, oh, baby, what's the matter with you? Instead of like, get the F out my face or I'm going to sock you, It's a whole different approach. And I really love the restorative justice practices because we sit in circle together. And whoever has the talking piece gets the attention. So everyone begins to be seen, heard, and respect it because they're listening to, and that's all we want.
Talk about it. How important is it for us as human beings to be seen, to be heard?
Oh, my goodness. It's so important. And I want to talk just for a moment to all the listeners who have children, because what happens is that when our children come in home and they're distressed, if we don't sit down with them eye to eye and say, tell me about that, then that stress just builds until then they don't want to talk about it because they wanted you to talk to them about it when they first brought it to you. And now it's 3 years later, the same thing's still happening. They don't want to talk now. So there's a way to actually, with all relationships.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and learning to listen to each other, and
listen.
And one of the things that I was fortunate enough to do in studying some forms of psychology, and becoming a life coach that like I am a life and wellness coach, and there was a program called the Imago, and they just blew my mind with the system they had of teaching people how to listen to each other. Because we'll say, see what I'm saying, you hear me, oh yeah, I got you, I feel you, I'm hearing you, but no, you're not really listening. And I just love the fact that you brought that up, how important it is to listen. And then because if a person is heard, then they feel seen.
They relax. They let go of some stress. They're more available emotionally. So listening is like a gift that you give the other person, and then they give you a gift back of feeling emotionally supported, and then they're more willing to listen to you. And, couples get in trouble because they stop listening to each other.
Yeah, I communication, when communication breaks down, the floodgates of all negativity just kind of flow in there.
Absolutely. So let's just begin to think about some of the tools that people can take from the conversation today in order to help 2017 be the best time because we can't do anything about the past. The future's not here. So right now, some of the things that we could do is actually begin to think about what we're thinking about, begin to articulate what we want to get rid of, to change our thinking, to add a new thought in, to say something positive about ourselves, get rid of those labels, and then begin to listen to the people that are around us. And ask our family and our friends, what are you dreaming about? Because we've lost the ability to dream. We are working jobs or living in a way that keeps us on a treadmill, and that treadmill has nothing to do with us personally. I've got to buy a house.
And I tell you another thing to go on. The engineer just notified me that we got about 5 minutes. And another thing that I have learned in relationships, and whether it's business or friendship or a special loved one, is to kind of back up off being right or wrong.
Absolutely.
Just making each other right or wrong is so toxic, I believe. I mean, there are times that you want people to be responsible for their action. You want to hold people responsible. But what I'm learning, and I use the phrase learning, that the more I get away from you're wrong and I'm right, or you're making me wrong and you're trying to be right, the more I get away from that, the better off I'm finding that I can communicate with people.
Yes, absolutely. And communication is really the key to improving our relationships. So I would like to ask to go back to Wisdom Women community. And I just want to give a shout out, because I know that there are women there who really want to start to make a new difference. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to invite women to come to Esalen January the 13th, 14th, and 15th. It's in Big Sur in California. And then we have another gathering in Costa Rica, May the 13th through the 20th. And that one is called The Women, the Earth, and the Conscious Body. And then we're going to be in Colorado, September the 7th through the 10th. And that's called Sacred Sexuality. So we are actually doing these gatherings, these visionary gatherings, so that women can get a vision for themselves that they want to share with their communities and with their families. And so if you're out there and you need to get connected, please get connected. I want to give my email address.
Please.
It's the Queen Mutima, TheQueenMutima @gmail.com.
Give it again.
The Queen Mutima, TheQueenMutima @gmail.com.
And if you didn't get the email right away, you can join me on my Facebook, and this will be posted on YouTube, so you'll be able to backtrack it and get this. And you know, if you see some value in this, follow through. Let's support this healing process. You want to say something else?
I want to say that the time is now to begin to have the incredible life that you've been born to have.
I love that.
I want to say the time is now to allow the divinity that is in you, because you have breath, to breathe you into the reality in which you will be proud of, because we are co-creators. There is a divine that's happening, and it's happening within each of us, and collectively we can begin to harness that to change the world, so that we don't have to be worried about a Trump in presidency.
I just love the work, the energy that you bring to the day. Jarvis, how much time we have over there? 1 minute. Give us a quick words of wisdom before we close. We just got 1 minute, so you speak a few seconds, then I come in and say something. Just give us a few words.
So take a deep breath. Take a magical breath. Relax yourself and know that you are a personal expression of this divine thing called life. There's no one else like you, and it's time for you to shine.
I just thank you so much for that. This is a new journey that we're on, 2017, and find your way of connecting to the higher source, the higher spirit. Find your energy and connect it to the highest vibration. It doesn't matter who or what you believe in, but do something with it. be proactive in your life and come and help us heal this planet, and we will help heal humanity. Remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. This is Larry Yates, as is. Peace. I'm out.